One shot, one kill, the VLE commander muttered, his tendrils quivering in dismay. How can any species be so precise? On the barren planet of Crux 4, under the dim light of 3 distant stars, the coalition of free species huddled together in a war council. The war had been going well until the humans joined the fray. Now, a new nightmare haunted the coalition's ranks, the human sniper. Perhaps we underestimated them. The Tauran general, a towering mass of hardened scales, grumbled. His voice rumbled like distant thunder, carrying the weight of every defeat his forces had suffered at the hands of these mysterious human marksmen. Underestimated? The commander's voice was almost a hiss, his slit-pupil eyes narrowing. We didn't understand them at all. What kind of soldier kills from such a distance? It's dishonorable. Another alien, smaller in stature, but with eyes that flickered like a dying star, interjected. It's not just the distance. They kill without warning, without a chance for us to even see them. By the time we know where they are, it's too late. There was a murmur of agreement among the council. The room, filled with beings of various shapes and sizes, bore the scars of the recent conflicts. None could claim to have seen a human sniper and live to tell the tale. Their only knowledge came from the aftermath. Comrades dropped in their tracks, casualties counted in seconds. We need to do something, the Tan general insisted, slamming a fist onto the metal table. The force of the impact made the holographic map of the battlefield flicker. We can't continue to fight an enemy we can't see. Perhaps a cold, mechanical voice cut through the murmurs. It belonged to an artificial intelligence unit, sleek and angular, floating above the group. Perhaps it is not the humans we should fear, but their methods. The room fell silent, all eyes and sensory organs turning toward the AI. It had been a silent observer until now, its input often viewed as too clinical, too detached from the organic realities of war. But now, in the face of an unseen enemy, its insight was sought. They have adapted to a form of warfare that prioritizes efficiency over engagement, the AI continued. For humans, victory is not about the battle, but about the elimination of the target. They are predators, hunters who take pride in their ability to end life with minimal effort. The word predator hung in the air, its implications clear. In the wilds of many worlds, predators are the most feared creatures, beings that can kill without hesitation, without remorse. For the first time, the coalition realized they were not fighting a traditional army. They were facing hunters, and they were the prey. Then how do we fight back? The VLE commander's voice was almost desperate, his usual confidence shaken. How do we stop them? We can't fight them the way we fought others. The AI responded, we need to change our approach. We must become unpredictable, force them into situations where their precision is meaningless. We need to find a way to draw them out, expose them to our strengths. Or, a voice from the back of the room suggested, we could lure them into traps. Make them think they have the advantage, then strike when they least expect it. The idea sparked a discussion, strategies and counter-strategies flying back and forth. But as the council debated, one thing became increasingly clear. The humans had already won in one respect. They had instilled fear, a fear that now threatened to paralyze the coalition's efforts. Meanwhile, far from the war council, high on a ridge overlooking the battlefield, a lone figure lay prone, his body camouflaged against the rocky terrain. Through the scope of his rifle, he watched the movements of the enemy below. They were setting up defensive positions, their movements hurried and erratic. They knew he was out here somewhere, but they had no idea where. A slow, deliberate breath. The sniper's finger tightened on the trigger, not enough to fire, but just enough to feel the cool metal under his skin. His heart rate was steady, his mind clear. He was in no rush. Patience was the key. He could wait for hours, days even, for the perfect shot. And when it came, he would take it with no more thought than one might give to swatting a fly. But for now he waited, watched, and listened. He was just one of many scattered across the landscape, each one a ghost in the machine of war. No one knew his name, and no one ever would. His existence was defined by a simple creed: see without being seen, kill without being killed. Back at the War Council, the discussions were growing more heated. The coalition leaders were desperate, grasping at any strategy that might give them an edge. But deep down, they all knew the truth. They were facing an enemy they didn't understand, one that seemed to defy all the rules of engagement they had known. And on the ridge, the sniper waited, his eyes never leaving the battlefield below. He had all the time in the world, and when the moment came, he would strike. Another enemy of humanity would fall, wondering in their final moments why they had ever dared to face such a foe. Another one bites the dust, muttered the sniper as he observed the aftermath through his scope. The alien soldier crumpled to the ground, lifeless, the others scrambling in panic. He knew the effect this would have on them: more paranoia, more fear. They were already terrified, and it showed in every jerky movement, every cautious step they took. He didn't need to hear their panic chatter to understand. It was the same in every battle. The coalition forces were unraveling, their confidence eroding with each shot. A single sniper could decimate their morale, and there were dozens of snipers just like him across the planet, all with the same mission: sow fear and confusion. The War Council reconvened 2 days later, their desperation evident in every aspect of their demeanor. The once proud leaders of the coalition now seemed smaller, their confidence eroded by the growing legends of human snipers. They had thought themselves masters of war, but the humans had introduced an entirely new game, one they were woefully unprepared to play. This cannot continue, the Vlek commander declared, his tendrils twitching with agitation. Our forces are unraveling. Every day, we lose more ground, more soldiers. We must find a way to neutralize these predators. The room was silent, save for the hum of the holographic map that displayed a bleak picture of their progress. Red markers, representing human-controlled territories, continued to spread like a stain across the planet's surface. "They are ghosts," murmured the Tauran general, his massive frame slumping with defeat. "We cannot fight what we cannot see." "Perhaps that is the problem," a new voice interjected. It belonged to a younger delegate, one who had not yet borne the scars of battle. His voice was steady, but his bright, flickering eyes betrayed his nervousness. "We have been reacting to them, chasing shadows. What if we became the shadows instead?" There were murmurs of confusion, then anger. "You suggest we mimic them?" The Vlek commander's voice was sharp. "Adopt their dishonorable tactics? That is beneath us." "No," the young delegate shook his head. "I suggest we think as they do, use their own logic against them. They are hunters, yes, but even hunters can be hunted. They rely on patience, precision, and isolation. What if we denied them that? Forced them to act rashly, to abandon their strengths?" The AI, which had remained silent since its last intervention, suddenly spoke. Its synthetic voice was cold and measured. "A strategy of disruption." "Precisely," the delegate continued, emboldened. "Flood the battlefield with decoys. Overwhelm their senses with noise, movement, confusion. Deny them the time and space they need to operate effectively. And when they are forced to reveal themselves, we strike." The council erupted into debate. Some saw the merit in the idea, while others balked at the thought of engaging in what they viewed as chaotic, undignified warfare. But the AI's voice cut through the noise once more. "Adaptation is the key to survival. The humans have adapted to us. Now we must adapt to them." Reluctantly, the council began to draft plans for this new approach. For the first time in weeks, there was a glimmer of hope, a fragile, tentative belief that they might yet turn the tide. Far from the debates and strategies, the sniper moved through the ruins of an abandoned outpost. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burnt metal and scorched earth, the remnants of a recent skirmish. He stepped lightly, his senses alert to every sound, every shift in the wind. The mission was simple: reconnaissance. Identify potential threats, gather intel, and eliminate any high-value targets. But the sniper knew better than to expect simplicity in war. As he crept along the edge of a crumbling structure, his comm crackled softly in his ear. "Movement on your 10 o'clock," came the voice of his spotter, calm and steady. "Looks like a patrol." The sniper froze, lowering himself into the shadows. Through his scope, he scanned the indicated direction. Sure enough, a group of alien soldiers was making their way through the debris, their movements cautious and deliberate. Something about them felt off. They weren't panicked or erratic, as most coalition forces had been in recent encounters. These soldiers were disciplined, their formation tight. They were searching for something or someone. The sniper's jaw tightened. He had encountered units like this before. Elite squads, trained specifically to counter human snipers. They were dangerous, but not invincible. He adjusted his position, aligning his scope with the lead soldier. His finger hovered over the trigger, the familiar weight of the rifle grounding him. But just as he prepared to take the shot, his instincts screamed a warning. A shadow moved in his peripheral vision. Too close. Too precise. He rolled to the side just as a burst of plasma fire tore through the spot where he had been lying. The ambush had begun. The hunters had learned. This time, they didn't rely on their numbers alone. They moved as a single, cohesive unit, their attacks coordinated and relentless. Plasma fire lit up the ruins, forcing the sniper to keep moving, his camouflage and instincts the only things keeping him alive. He ducked behind a shattered wall, his mind racing. He was outnumbered and outgunned, and his usual tactics wouldn't work against an enemy that had adapted to his methods. But he was not one to panic. Calmly, methodically, he began to calculate. The hunters were efficient, but efficiency could be exploited. They expected him to retreat, to keep his distance. Instead, he would do the opposite. The sniper slung his rifle over his back and drew a combat knife, its blade blackened to avoid reflection. He moved silently through the shadows, weaving between the crumbling structures. One by one, the hunters fell. The sniper struck from the darkness, his blade finding the gaps in their armor with lethal precision. By the time the last soldier realized what was happening, it was too late. Hours later, as the sun dipped below the horizon, the sniper stood alone amidst the wreckage. The hunters had been formidable, but they had underestimated him. They had come for a predator, but they had found something far more dangerous. He cleaned his blade and shouldered his rifle, his movements deliberate and unhurried. The coalition would send more hunters, he knew. They would never stop trying to eliminate the human snipers. But that was fine. The sniper lived for the hunt.